Greetings, everyone. This is The Truth Will Rise, back with another video here. And things are kind of unfolding in the general direction that was described on these and many other videos and blogs and radio shows and whatnot, in terms of, as I like to call it, the political theater of this past, the earlier part of this week, rather. And just like I said on my last video, those who question events or even the official story of 9/11, those people would be demonized and everything of that nature. And the first person that I've seen of any stature to do it, of course, as we know, is Steelers running back Rashard Mendenhall, who on his Twitter account or post or whatever you want to call it, basically said, question, people celebrating the death and all of that of allegedly of one Osama bin Laden, and then subsequently said what people in the 9/11 truthers, or people who just critically think, said about the events of itself. And I don't have the exact quote, but basically it was that he has a hard time believing that a plane could crash into a building and cause it to collapse demolition style or something to that effect. And I have really heard so many shows, just absolutely ream this guy. And what I've noticed, though, is that all of these people that have done that, they've taken the track that we said that they would, in terms of not of demonizing him and just calling the guy names and just childish emotionalism. And then two, said they don't deal actually with what he said in terms of its validity, in terms of actually refuting it. They simply take shots at him personally, or try to say, well, look what he said this, in terms of trying to attack his credibility as a person and as a man. So, i.e., well, he said this, well, look, of course he's going to say something like this. And not even looking at what he said in terms of particularly the 9/11 attacks itself. And those of you who've been watching my videos, you are probably already in the know, but for those, I'm just going to give a super, super brief, rundown of, in fact, basically what he's saying is actually true. That, of course, the planes hit the buildings, the fire, of course, caused the steel to melt, yada, yada, yada. And when you look at it and really ask yourself some questions, then that official story starts to crumble, because I'm going to go as quickly as I can, time constraints. But, of course, that never before in the history of construction has a steel frame building collapsed due to fire. Even if you believe that story, that fairy tale, then what you would have had is the building from the impact zone up would have, fallen off and wrenched away from the building and collapsed to the ground, leaving everything below it standing. Because the fact of the matter is that jet fuel as a hydrocarbon burns at around maximally 17 to 1800 degrees. The melting point of steel is around 3000. And as of course came out in the Kevin Ryan letter, that steel in that building was tested to withstand 3300 degrees. So, the science simply doesn't add up. And again, even if you believe that, it still wouldn't account for the total pulverization and disintegration of those two buildings. Then, of course, you have not only the news accounts initially, they talked about multiple explosions, but also the people in the building, the survivors who got out, talk about multiple explosions. You have the firefighters and police who all talk about hearing multiple explosions inside the buildings. You have the people who worked in the sub-basements of 1 and 2. People like William Rodriguez and others talks about hearing pre-impact explosion in the sub-basement even before the plane strikes, and they talked about the damage accounts that was below the building before the plane strikes occurred. You know, and then of course you have Building 7, which wasn't even hit by a plane but collapsed neatly, you know, into its own footprint later that day. And for those of you who think it was fire, the BBC actually did a report 20 minutes before the buildings collapsed, in which you can still see the Solomon Brothers of Building 7 in the background behind the reporter, as she's talking about the building has already fallen. So you explain that to me. The 9/11 Commission report certainly doesn't. And then you have, of course, the Pentagon, which everything from the pilot who they allege did it, Alejandro, who couldn't even, you know, fly a small Cessna, you know, 5 weeks beforehand, makes this complicated maneuver to crash into the Pentagon that experienced and seasoned pilots says is all but impossible for even all the most skilled pilots to make. But aside from that, you've got the fact that there's no wreckage, and you're telling me a plane that's, you know, 140 feet long, you know, 40 some odd feet wide could fit into a 16-foot hole and not leave any type of wreckage or anything out on the lawn, or that it was no pattern that he was able to hold this, you know, 100-ton plane few feet above the lawn and never touch it before impacting. I mean, that doesn't even sound right. You know, where's the wreckage? You know, where's the steel? You know, and all of that. And then, you know, we all know what happened outside of Shanksville, Virginia, where it's pretty obvious that that plane was shot down. But said the science doesn't add up. That's kind of a super brief rundown, you know, without getting into the stock activity and some of the other things, and, you know, later the thermite and you know, how the steel was unceremoniously and illegally shipped off, you know, without going into all to that. But said he comes out and says these things which, you know, actually are quite valid. But now this guy is getting run through the ringer for this, and bringing it back to the point that I've been making on the previous installments of this video series, is that the manipulation and the fear-based mind control and forcing people to relive September 11th is also causing that same type of mentality, that groupthink, to come back in terms of anyone who says anything questioning the official story of September 11th, or, you know, even the political theater of the past 72 hours. Well, you know, there's something wrong. They're working for the terrorists. I mean, these were things they said about Mr. Mendenhall, which, you know, that's not what he said. And I mean, those accusations are just simply ridiculous. But the point is that people just get into this groupthink where, rather than looking and doing, as we always talk about in these videos, asking questions and doing critical thinking, they immediately go into groupthink and just start calling names, and I mean, just ridiculous stuff here, rather than having an intellectual discussion or really looking at, you know, what this gentleman had to say. And you will see that about anyone who dares come out against it and says anything, you know, that, like in this case, is salient, or anything of that nature who has a legitimate question. They're going to be demonized, and which is just the way it was planned, because, you know, you're not supposed to think and ask these questions, even though, you know, it's obvious, you know, that the official stores is as fake as a $3 bill. But the collective psyche, for the most part, of the masses of America has been manipulated and twisted to such a degree that anyone who, I don't even want to use that term of thinking outside, just thinks, and thinking runs counter to the norms of the media controlled masses. Well, as I've heard on on some shows, that they're an idiot, or they're this, or they're crazy, or they're just just stupid. And which all of those things, showing emotionalism, which is not attached to any concrete intellectualism or anything like that. It's just merely mindless groupthink is basically what it is. And you'll continue to see that as you have. Hopefully there'll be some other brave people of stature who have the guts to come out and think, because there's already a lot of us already, who are writing, articles and blogs and making videos, like on YouTube and documentaries and other things, outlining these things already. But, we don't have the whole world looking at us. So hopefully, and I hate to say that, because someone famous or whatnot speaks out, that's going to give, what we're saying more validity or credibility. But what it will do is give it some visibility, and hopefully it'll cause more and more people to think, because we know how people feel about these celebrities. They say, I'm not going to get into that, but you know where I'm going with that. But I had to make that video because I knew it was coming, and then when I saw it, and then when I saw the media reaction, it did not surprise me at all. And anyone who does it, hopefully there'll be some others who have the guts to do so. It'll be the same thing, but hopefully through this video and so many others, of brave brothers and sisters out there who are speaking out and trying to encourage others to think, that hopefully some people will start to do that and start to tear down that intellectual, media-driven manipulation that we've all been under, and really see that fear is a red herring. It's the proverbial boogeyman that doesn't even really exist. So I had to break that down really quick. Go ahead and sign off on this video. I appreciate everybody who's been watching and everything. Still have some more things coming, so I do appreciate it. Again, thank you for watching. Feel free to rate and comment and subscribe. I always say, even if you disagree, that's okay. Just do it respectfully, and we can have certainly a civil conversation about it, even with differing viewpoints. So with that being said, wishing everyone many blessings, much prosperity and peace for you and yours. And this is The Truth Will Rise signing off. I'll catch you all later. Bye.